Instead of over here, like that. Oops, come on. Oh, yeah.
Let's have some time of silence. If you'll mute your mics, please. Amen. Thank you, Lord. You listen to Mark Nepo talked about the leaf on the lake, the water. What spoke to you? Anything at all? Mary, I saw that you did take note of something.
David, I didn't hear anything.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
didn't?
couldn't hear it. No, we
Oh,
couldn't hear it.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I didn't hear anything either.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You do? Well, isn't that terrible? I don't know what happened.
I didn't hear you
My
either.
technology is kind of screwed up. As you'll notice, I'm using my computer monitor, not my big monitor here. You can't see the dogs and what have you. Like, for some reason, things are messed up. But anyway, at least we can hear each other. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I wish you, I don't know. Well, anyway, we missed that.
We imagined it.
Okay. All right, let me just throw this out to you. As you look at the ocean on the surface, what do you see? What do you see on the surface of an ocean? It starts with a W.
Waves.
Waves.
Okay. And this is what our life is like. A lot of times it's up and down and stormy and what have you. And what is underneath the ocean down at the bottom?
Calmness.
Yeah, that's meditation, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we meditate, to still the roar and the waves and all that, to where we can be calm and we can find a peace, an inner peace. And I love what Bishop Curry said about a contagion of love, where we can, as he loved us, we're to love everyone. And this is the real contagion that we need to allow it to spread everywhere. And that's the love that we have within ourselves for God and for each other. Wow, that's enough. Okay. Oh, goodness. So, let's do, I can get this to work now. Yep, I was able to get that up. I'm sorry about that audio, that's terrible. I have here to join our Zoom discussion. And God has a dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission. I love that. Dream, vision, purpose, and a mission for everyone and everything. And afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your old men will do what? Dream dreams. And your young men will see visions. How about that? How about you, Dan? Are you dreaming dreams? A dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission. I talking to Father Vince out of California. He's on Saturdays in the meditation chapel, and he's going to use this for mission statement for his parish. That we have a dream for our parish, a vision, purpose, and mission, as God has one for us as well. We are stardust. I don't know how this got it. I meant to leave. We had that in last week. Does God speak to us in dreams? Are they God directed? Does God have a dream, vision, purpose, and mission for each of us? What is it? Were you all able to listen to Dr. James Hollis?
Yes.
Yes.
Because Martha was not able to listen to him or watch him. You could see him, you just didn't have the audio.
Right.
Yeah. Young men will see visions, old men will dream dreams. Are dreams God directed? Anybody? Hey, Francis.
Scenario. That's when you get into the things.
Yeah, let's put your mute your mics, unless you're going to talk, and then be sure to unmute. Go ahead. I love your cross there, Pete. That's the cross of San Damiano in Assisi. Yeah, I love that. What about dreams? Mary talked to us about dreams last Sunday, and she said that she couldn't really get anybody to talk about biblical dream people, characters in the scriptures that had dreams like Joseph and Daniel and different ones. We've seen that were God directed. Pete, go ahead.
Well, I liked what the doctor had to say from the Jung perspective. And I think it's part of the mystery of who we are in God. So he kind of indicated, as we were sharing before, and what Mary said is, there could be different purposes for different dreams that we have. And just like in the Bible, God does speak kind of directly or through angels to guide somebody, and sometimes that has changed somebody's life. Some of the prophets were interpreters of dreams, and that they had a special gift, or what we would call charism, for that. So I also liked what he had to say about, we all dream whether we know it or not, and whether we remember it or not. He also affirmed what Mary was saying as far as writing them down and reflecting on them, and maybe going to another person for a different perspective. So I was really uplifted by what he had to say, and affirmed in some ways and challenged in other ways. Because he did say at one point, sometimes I like the way he put it, I believe, why is our unconscious trying to do, what is our unconscious trying to do with our outer life, or something like that? Kind of the meshing. What is the message for me in that, perhaps? So.
And also, why are dreams important?
Right.
Anybody who wants to talk about dreams?
Well, I thought he again emphasized a lot of what Mary had told us. And so often and I noticed this with us last week with Mary, we wanted her to tell us what our dream meant. What does that mean, Mary? When actually that's not what you do. Apparently you would treat it with a great deal of respect and try to figure out what it's personally trying to tell us or make manifest in our life. But that that kind of a soft treatment of it, and having others give suggestions as to what it would mean if they had that dream and everything. It's something I never knew about dreams.
Thank you, Linda. Anybody's thoughts about your dreams? Whether you sense that they are God directed, or they just substance within the unconscious?
So
Thomas, go ahead, Mary.
I had a really difficult night last night. When I finally fell asleep, I had this very short dream that was very instructive, and I think you'll love this. It said, take the wow, W-O-W, in capital letters, out of God. So I'll just leave it there.
And hand it over to us to interpret, to be a Joseph.
Well, because one of the things that I was reading about in the Bible was that dreams are very instructive at times, even if we don't like the instruction. And oftentimes we don't, our ego doesn't want to listen, but a dream can bypass that. And so I felt that this dream was instructive for me. Take the wow out of God.
Linda, what are your thoughts about the wow?
About the wow. You
Mhm.
know what first comes to my mind is
All right, let's do it as Mary says. If you had that dream, what would that
yeah,
mean to you?
yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Um, I, I would think of it as maybe that God is more in us and part of us and in the natural way of things as we know them. And it's not just a wow thing that he is, you know. We can relate to him. He's not a far off wow, something like that.
Thank you, Linda. What about you, Martha? If you had the dream and with the wow like that, what do you think it mean to you?
Very, wait a minute. Yeah. Very similar to what Linda said. And that's the first thing I thought. And in some ways, it's a commentary on the differences between the type of religion I was raised in and the way my feelings and my understanding is now. Because when God is something large and commanding and directive outside of you, that's a wow thing. That maybe when I was little, I remember being told when I was a young child that the awe of God included fear, and that it was like this big, I don't know, directive or a person who is able to control everything. But to take the wow out is to take all of that emphasis out. And we're now coming to the understanding through Richard Rohr and Matthew Fox and many people that God is present in all of the creation, that God is beyond gender, that God is the mechanism, the idea, the plan, and that part of we are created by this. We include part of it in our psyche. And furthermore, all the earth, even the lowest earthworm, has a part of God. And we have to learn to respect, but in an everyday respect, without that big awe and fear and emotion that I got about this when I was younger. So now it's just much more natural, and it's something I can accept, that I respect everything, every little bird, every little creature, even the mice, because they are created by God. And if God is love, and love is the primary emotion that we are to give, then we have to give love and respect and make a place for everything in our lives. That's a very wordy answer. I'm sorry.
I like that. What is the difference between transcendence and immanence?
Are you asking anybody?
Anybody? It's open. Not everybody speak at once now, please. You.
I would say transcendence. I visualize transcendence as me transcending, moving to another place with God. And eminence, so transcendence to me is what I would call the macro vision,
Okay.
looking at the entire universe and all its glory. And eminence to me is the micro vision.
Okay.
It's seeing God in me and in everything that every little thing in my life. So one I view as a big picture, and the other is the micro picture.
Mm.
And to get back to the dream, to Mary's dream, I relate to, as I've shared before with the group, her dream, take the wow out of God. In my preparation for meditation, one of the things that I focus on is the marvelous, magical, mystical miracle of me. And so and that's very much related to the immanence, to the microvision. So looking at what a miracle I am in my body, in my senses, in this organism that is called Dan. And to realize that of all the millions of people, billions of people that have existed, I'm the only one that will ever know this mystery of Dan. You may know the mystery of David, or you may know the mystery of Mary, but I'm the only one that will ever know the mystery of Dan. And so when I go through this premeditation review of the magical miracle that is my life, what I end up is coming up with the 3 words that it is all unearned, it is all freely given in love. And the 3 words that I use to experience, to share this is wow, wow, wow.
And her first name is what? Amazing Wow,
Amazing
Grace.
wow. So when I think of if I had Mary's dream, take the wow, take the wow out of God. What I see that is not eliminating the wow. It's experiencing the wow that is God.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's becoming more aware of the wow that is God by taking that wow into myself. So I can relate that dream to this meditation preparation of the microvision, the examination. I will never know the universe the way I know my own body. I will never know anything else the way I know me.
Francis, you gave him 1 up on that. Go ahead, share. Oh, 2 of them. Okay, go ahead and share.
I'm just wow. I embrace in recent couple of years, I've been embracing and diving as deep as I can with the teachings of John Main. He talks about using the mantra, and I was listening to Dan, and before Dan, Mary, and before Mary, just listening, and wow, I'm thinking, wow, using wow as a mantra, taking it. I'm not gonna. I have a mantra I'm quite satisfied with, but sometimes I'm free to explore other, But getting back to Mary's dream, wow. And I think part of my purpose is something to do with dreams, because I have at times, off and on, I have spectacular dreams, and I've had dreams that have really, I have different names for them. I think there are different types. I'll share quickly a dream I had recently. I have a little fear sharing this, but I've been doing what I call my winter ceremony work, which this year looks like I'm in a 15-week step study workshop with 18 other people, and I'm doing this with homework every day, and it's intense. And for me, and what was I going to say about that? I just lost my.
Your
totally
dream.
Tell
You were
about a
talking
dream.
about a dream.
Yeah.
I had it. So
Yeah.
thank you, friends. So I had this dream the other night that I was, and I judged that putting myself in this test. It's a test, really, of doing this daily writing and step work, and way beyond my comfort zone. the other night I had a dream that I was pulling out. Look at my. If you take a moment, look at what I'm saying. I have coming out of my head right about here, where my hand is. You can see I was a worm was coming out of my head, and I trust it was a detox. It's something about detoxing. So the worm is about 3/4 out of my head, and I reach and I grab hold of it, and I just pull on it, and I got the whole thing out. It was probably 1/4 of an inch thick and maybe 2 or 3 inches long, and I pulled it out, and it was and to me that was a dream. Who was telling me, I like to think it's about releasing something that's toxic or releasing something that no longer serves. But it was kind of, this is the first time I've talked about it.
Well, thank you for sharing.
But that's my God. And the other piece quickly is that I get from Mary's dream is another reminder to shed the concepts of God. As a boy, as a young man, I taken on many concepts of God, and it's a shedding it. And when I say wow, it's like let go of the wow. It's like, oh, it's like Dan said, it's about experiencing. Come experience me. Don't get beyond concepts. Come and experience the beloved. For years I wouldn't go into a Catholic church. For years I wouldn't go. It was like, and then when I finally, through the Holy Spirit, when I finally went into the church, I saw all these statues that I used to condemn as false idols. I saw that all of them, most of them, almost all of them have a Sacred Heart of Jesus, or a Sacred Heart of Jude, or a Sacred Heart of Joseph or Mary or Jesus. And it totally changed because I was experiencing it's anyway. Where's that mute button?
Well, that makes a lot of sense, Francis. I would just like to say that the wow for me is that in Western Christianity, I would say within Protestantism, Catholicism, in the Western part has been mainly transcendence. The God way up there, so far away. Whereas in the Eastern part of Christianity, Eastern Christianity is more the immanence, the God within, the oneness with God, that we are God, as St. Augustine said. And that I think that what's happening is we're blending the two together now. And I like what Dan said, the micro and the macro. That makes a lot of sense. And so the wow, in a sense, is wow, we're one. That I don't have to go to the highest star or wherever way up there to get to God. He's within me. And that's fairly new for us. Would you agree with that, Pete?
I'm sorry, I was distracted.
Okay, never mind. I was just saying, sharing something here. It doesn't matter. I thought, oh, my Lenny doesn't agree with me. But wouldn't most of you say that God has been way off somewhere and that we could never reach him, and therefore we had to say more prayers? And if I cut the church's grass, I get closer to God than I do cutting my own grass?
Yeah,
now, it's bad.
I mean, I would agree with what you're saying.
Okay, now when it
There are many
becomes
still like that.
when God becomes so immanent within us, that you weep when you cut your grass, because your brother grass or sister worm, as Francis would call brother worm. So anyway, I don't mean to ramble on. Colleen, what would you say about Mary's wow?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say I am not there yet with you guys at all. I want the wow. I love the wow. I'm a real visual person. So that's how I understand my world. And my best childhood Catholic memories are of going to church, and the Mass was in Latin, and there was incense and stained glass, and wow, all of that stuff. I love that. And I was probably the only one that was sad when they stopped doing the Mass in Latin. And because for me, I need that mystery, that glitz. It's also part of my alcoholic nature, you know, the drama, the over the top. And so as you guys are talking, I'm realizing, yes, this is where I want to go. But I am still grieving that childhood concept that I had of God. And I really am trying to integrate with nature and do more of that. But nature also can be a wow. You know, it's just a different kind of wow. So I need to change my expectations and all of that baggage that I bring into my spirituality, I think. And it makes a lot of sense to me to be so close to God that God is like air. I don't think about it. Air does not have wow at all. Air is just there. For a fish, water is just there. So I want to get there, but I'm not as smart as you guys are. I'm just not there.
It has nothing to do with smarts, I'll tell you. You know, I like what you said about the incense and the smells and bells. Yep. And all that. I can remember how much I used to love to go to benediction, adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, and all the extra liturgical devotions that we had that are not there now. Not there. I guess I don't know whether it's Vatican II or whether we're just growing because of Rohr and Thomas Keating and all those who have really brought the Eastern spirituality to us, to the West. I think a lot of it is that. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead, Pete.
Interesting conversation. Some of that is coming back in the Catholic Church, the benediction, the adoration, the Latin masses. So it's definitely changed in 26 years since I've been a priest. And what I've been thinking in part of this discussion is what Richard Rohr said, is that everything belongs, you know. We're all at different points or spots or whatever in our journey. And I don't think it's anyone's more higher or evolved or better or smarter, Colleen. It's just that we're all different, and that's one thing that I love about this group, is that we're open to accepting everybody and sharing and talking and dialoguing and even disagreeing. So, but David, yeah, in our church, at least in East Tennessee, benediction, all that, smells and bells. Yes.
Really? Now? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, you know, I have an assignment for you, Pete.
Uh-oh.
And that's to do a Google search for an online Latin Mass for Colleen. so she can be there online, okay, if you can find it.
Okay.
Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple things come to mind. One thing that came to mind about when Francis was sharing his dream was the scripture where the apostles are telling Jesus that they want to comply with the Jewish law regarding food, and Jesus tells them it's not important what you put into your mouth. What is important is what comes out. And then he goes on to list some of the sinfulness that comes out of men, out of the mouths of men. And so if I had Francis's dream, I would think it was more of purification. And then the other thing that struck me when Pete was caught napping was that this group is comfortable enough with one another that we can share that, rather than trying to cover it up. And then the other thing regarding a dream was I had a dream a couple of weeks ago, and I was dreaming that I was singing a song, Danny Boy. Now, of course, being the name Dan, that song, and being Irish, that song has always been a significant song, but it's not a very happy song. If you listen to the lyrics, the final lyric is Danny Boy's mother singing to him, "Until you come to me," and she is deceased. And anyway, in this dream, when I got to the part "Until you come to me," I had the impression that I was no longer singing it, that my mother was. And I woke up at the end of that song, and I just had a very warm feeling, a very loving feeling at that time. And I haven't tried to interpret it any more than that. So that was a recent dream. And what I found too, and so I wrote that in my journal. And I found that it's helpful to write your dream down, because your understanding of it may become an evolving thing. So you may not understand it today, but a month from now, a year from now, it may have different meaning to you.
That's interesting. Mary, what is your response to the worm and Dan? Oh, Danny Boy.
Well, first I wanted to thank everybody for responding. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I came to about my dream. And as Dan said, it's evolving. But one of the things that the Jungian analysts talked about was associations. What are our associations to a symbol? And my immediate association was when Sister Ilya, we watched the video of Sister Ilya. And I remember when we finished watching it, David, your first response was, "Wow." And I said, "Wow." And so I wanted to share with you that she is a nun. As far as I could tell, she's a sister. And I have a sister. I have a sister of St. Joseph. She went in the convent when I was 6. And my work in my own therapy has been to differentiate between my sister and I. You know, we became very fused in our psyches. And so what I understood the dream to mean at this point was that I needed to take the religiosity out of God. And that's as far as I got. And all of your comments it was amazing how many of you sort of touched on that as you spoke. So thank you. And I wanted to share that because it was an instruction for me. Take the wow out of God, as if that's the direction of my life. That's how I need to go. That's God's direction for me.
Wow. Yes. Jenny, what about you and your wows and your worms, your dreams?
Peter said, I think this group of very democratic, so everyone has different thinking, interpretations, and to me, wow is everything. Is nature, whole, God, everything. Even each breath I take is a wow. It's a wow, wow.
You don't want to whoa wow.
So even this group is a wow. So I think everyone, to me, is being aware, is being mindful about the nature, about every day I wake up and I'm still enjoying this life in this planet, being healthy, having friends, able to come group like this, I can learn from everyone. And so, wow is everything for me. I do have a question, if you to Mary, if it's okay. I wonder, Mary, what did you feel, or you didn't feel anything when you had this dream?
It felt, I had a very hard time falling asleep, and there was something very tight in my mind, tight. And when I had that dream, it felt like I was being helped, that I was being helped by letting me know what it was that I needed to do in order to open up my own space. So thank you. That's a really great question. That's what I felt.
Thank you, Mary. Renata, it is so good to have you come on.
Thank you so much. I've just come back from a wonderful conference outside London, and it was
Really?
yeah, just with women. It was really, really beautiful. I really enjoyed it. I missed the meditation online. I haven't been to any of them, and I'm sure I'm not in a good books with anybody, but this is how it is. And I really felt like coming back again. I really did. So I have missed it. I'm sad that I'm an hour late.
We've missed you. Do you dream? Or do you remember your dreams?
No, I don't. No. But I think there are different ways of accessing the unconscious. Somebody had on my weekend, a woman said, she's a painter. She said, do lots and lots of drawings. Just keep on drawing, and eventually you will access the parts which aren't in the immediate consciousness. I think that's probably true. But dreams come from deep down, don't they? I used to dream a lot when I first started therapy, a lot, all sorts of, I wrote them all down, but not so much anymore. And I don't really know what that depends on. I suppose it depends on some anxiety level, do you? Do you think that, David?
Well, Mary, how would you respond to what Renata's saying? Excuse me.
Renata, could you ask the question again?
Yeah, I just said, I remember that years ago when I started therapy, I had lots and lots of dreams, and I mentioned the first one I had recently, and I wrote them all down. As time went on, I don't dream very much. I can't remember any, and I wondered whether it's related to the level of anxiety, whether you dream or not, the level of control you have within, even if you sleep.
I think it has a lot to do with it. When I was, I taught a class on dreams, and it was so fascinating when I would give people an exercise to dream. No one would dream. Everybody stopped dreaming. And it was as if the unconscious really doesn't want to be controlled. It wants freedom. And yes, I think that we can put a lot of controls on that level of our being.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mary.
Thomas Keating talked a lot about this. he called it divine therapy, going down deeply, allowing the Holy Spirit, that is, to go deeply into your unconscious. I'm getting some feedback for some reason. Go ahead and mute your mics. But anyway, he would talk about offloading material from the unconscious. And I think that, again, we have to ask the Holy Spirit to guide and direct us, to give us his wisdom, and that which is to come above, come out of that, God will allow. And that which needs to remain will obviously remain. And we talked about, does God speak to us through our dreams? Is our dreams God directed? I think it's the Holy Spirit at work in our life too. As Dan was sharing so much about his life, and you have such a litany of saints, Dan, that you pray for all the time. And that again can open, I think, Mary, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that as we pray to the saints like that litany to the saints, that they and the Holy Spirit can open up more of the dreams part of us, called intercession, open up the dream life within us. And Colleen, there is great hope for all of us, believe it or not. Anybody else? This has been so good today. Enjoyed it. Martha?
I was just thinking, like Renata, I used to dream when I was younger quite a lot, and nearly always remembered my dreams and could find something meaningful in one way or the other, either directive or sort of a warning, don't do that or don't go in that direction. And I relied on them quite a bit. But since my husband passed on, I have been a different person, and I'm just now really realizing how different I have been. And one of the things I have lost is dreams. I know I dream, but they're usually very negative. They're usually about constraining situations. And lately, as I have developed more inner peace, and I figure, so these situations come up, well, I'll just live with it. Things will happen and I'll manage and it'll be all right. There's no problem. As I've come to that acceptance and understanding, I'm not dreaming as much. I know I'm dreaming because everybody dreams, but I don't have any memory. I don't even, sometimes when I wake up, I don't even know I've been asleep. It's a very strange, I'm not sure what's happened and what's happening now, because there's a transition going on now and I don't know what's going on. I don't know where it's going, but it's going.
Thank you for sharing that, Martha. Anybody comment or reflection on Martha saying? I would like to share this as something we could do if you would want. My training has been basically a Jungian training, and a lot of it had to do with transactional analysis, TA, parent, adult, child, and the inner child, the wounded child, the one that hides in the unconscious a lot. And I believe that our imagination, our creativity, our passion sometimes comes from the child ego state, for us to be more creative. And I would assume that as we release and heal the wounded inner child, that there'll be more dreams coming, perhaps. I'm just throwing that out because I did a lot of inner child work, and we saw miracles happening. Because our Lord says something about, unless you become like what,
Little child.
cannot enter the kingdom. And what's the difference between what inner child? No, excuse me, a child and an adult. It's called inhibition. We're more inhibited as we begin to mature. Children are just say what they want to say. Isn't that right, Linda? Have you found that true with?
That is so true with my little grandson, who's just starting to talk and learning more and more words, but they're just so innocent and right here now all the time. They're right into what's going on. And there's just such a beauty about them. That's, they don't really worry about things. And I mean, this coronavirus means nothing to them. And
it's just the now, where they're getting fed,
it's just what's happening.
Whether they're being loved.
Yeah. Is this fun or not? Or am I hungry? It's so sweet.
Oh, goodness. Anybody else want to share?
Well, David, perhaps we should talk maybe briefly about what Linda just mentioned, and the what I'd call the elephant in the room, this coronavirus thing. I mean, here, I can look at the thumbnail pictures, and I can see 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 people that are highly susceptible to serious illness. And you could even say, gee, a month, 6 months from now, we all may not be here. And so it's something that, certainly weighs, I think weighs on people, because our life has changed so dramatically in the past 2 weeks. We can't go to the store and mix with people. We want to wash our hands frequently. We may, when we get supplies, be walking around with a face mask on. So it's something that I think deserves some attention.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dan. Give you an example of what happened to me today. I didn't go to Mass today. I did go to Hardee's, but I went through the drive-through, and the employee who handed me a little sandwich, she said, "Aren't you coming in? Aren't you coming in?"
Yeah.
And I didn't want to say anything. I said, "No, I'm just going on home." She said, "Well, we'll miss you."
Yeah.
And then Martha and I watched the online service from the Washington Cathedral today, which was very good, with Bishop Curry preaching and what have you. And so that is another option, online. Pete, have you had any experience in that, or go ahead?
Yes, actually, I'm glad we're talking about this too, because I'll offer a clarification. When I was not paying attention to you, I wasn't dozing.
I didn't say that, was Dan.
I know that was Dan. But actually, what had happened, it was regarding this very topic. I got a message, a complaint, because one of the ministers gave communion on the tongue to somebody, and were forbidden from doing that. And they were saying, aren't we taking all of the proper precautions for those who are wanting to come to the church, to the Mass? And the bishop did send out a mandate, but somebody was not following it. So it is a very tense time. And so that's...
Pete, did you see a fall off of people?
Oh, yes, there's a dramatic drop in numbers, but we do stream our masses at 11 a.m. every Sunday.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Please give us your URL, really, so we can join with you some.
Okay. Sometimes you can see me in the choir on that mass if I'm not the
Okay. Linda. Go ahead.
I want to echo what
Oh, go ahead,
David
Francis.
just said, and Pete, please send the link. It would be an honor to join to witness that. Thank you.
Oh, and also send that Latin mass to Francis. He he chatted that he'd like to have the Latin mass, be able to watch it. Linda, you had your hand up.
Yeah, because I'd like to share with you people the dilemma my husband and I are going through right now. Dan, you're fortunate that you got home when you did, but we are still in Florida because we had some obligations down here, but they've since all been canceled, of course. But anyways, our dilemma is, when do we head for home? You know, and if we drive, which we have to because of all our things we brought down here, does that mean that will mean stopping at motels, gas stations, foods, public restrooms, and all that. Now, our son and son-in-law both offered to fly down and then drive us back straight through, you know, without stopping. But I hate to have them do that unless it's absolutely necessary. So anyways, what our plan right now is to get what we can ready to leave and just wait until we feel so called to leave. Because right now, I've heard firsthand that the traffic going like from, you know, Florida north is just terrible. And all the Canadians are trying to get home because of their health insurance issues and, you know, possible border closings. And so, I mean, we're content here. That's fine. But sometime we're going to have to get home. And I don't know. I guess I could use prayer that, you know, well, I know he will. When the right time comes, he'll let us know, I'm sure. But that's the dilemma, you know, that we've never had to face coming down here.
That is a dilemma. Thank you, Linda, for sharing that. Colleen, you had your hand up. Lisa, I thought you had your hand. Well, anyway, put your hand up and say something.
No, for the Latin. I want the Latin mass.
Okay.
I got Pete's. Pete, could you say your mass in Latin for me?
He doesn't know Latin.
I don't do Latin. I do Spanish, but not Latin.
You do Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's better than English. It's more wow than English for sure.
I'll look for the Latin Mass online. I know we have them in several parishes in the diocese, so they probably stream at least some of them.
Oh, Colleen, I had an experience today when I first of all checked online with my parish or the parish that I attend when I'm at Winnie's house, and it said there are no mass. All masses are canceled, and that's in the diocese of Baltimore. So I was searching around for an online mass, and I found a couple, but the one that I watched was EWTN has a mass at noon. I think it's every day, but it's certainly at noon on Sunday. So and I would classify EWTN as being a conservative outreach. But so there was a nice choir, and the choir sang some fairly dated but beautiful music, and so it kind of brought me back, and I could see it brought back some of the beautiful aspects of the pre-Vatican II approach. And yet at the same time, I also, you know, even when I hear when I hear songs that are in a foreign language, I do not get the same, other than a nostalgic feeling, I do not get the same participatory experience as when there's a more modern, more lively kind of music. So I was an altar boy for a long time when I was a kid, and I knew all the Latin responses, and I still know them, but I'd rather understand what I was saying than just repeat it. So I am definitely in favor of a more modern language, contemporary language. But by the same token, I can see, yeah, there was a certain solemnity there that we may not experience in a modern liturgy. But in a modern liturgy, there's also a certain joy there that I didn't experience in the older liturgy. So I guess it basically just says, yes, there was value there, and we shouldn't throw it out. But I'm also very aware that we are using a scientific understanding that is 2,000 years old, and we do know what science has revealed to us, and it for me it just gives me a more expansive and inclusive experience of God. So both things have value, but for me the evolution is a good thing.
Sorry I had to leave, but my dogs know it's an hour now, and they didn't even wait for Martha's prayer. It's time to go. This has been so, thank you, Dan, for sharing, and all of you, Mary. It's just wonderful having you share your experience and your training in dreams.
David, I was wondering if your thoughts about going forward with the hidden child somehow could relate to our earlier experiences with the church and with religion, as we all speak about this. I'm wondering if it's just a thought that came to my mind when you brought up your training.
All right, why don't we do this? Next time, if you would like, we'll address the wounded inner child. And if any of you would like to do some inner child work online, which we can, I've done it before, we'll do it. You're going to find a lot of healing, extremely healing. And don't be scared. Please don't.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
It does.
And we'll do that if you all would like that. We'll do some healing work this next time. What I'd like for you to do to prepare for next time, I'd like for you to write a letter to your inner child, to little Martha, little Mary, little Pete, Renata, little Renata, and all of you. And what I want you to put in there, dear Renata, dear little Renata, what I want you to forgive me for is, that's a sentence stem, you're to finish that. And what I want to thank you for, and can you think of anything you might want to forgive your little child for now? How about not knowing that the little child was even there? Totally ignored because you didn't know that the little child was still there. The inner child. Linda, go ahead. You're muted, Linda.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we're writing as the adult.
Yeah, you're
We
writing
are
it
now. We're writing
as a parent.
to our little
A
child.
parent to your little inner child. And you could either be a critical parent, a nurturing parent, a loving parent, whatever kind of parent, and make it, dear Linda, what I want you to forgive me for.
Okay. Well, we
And-
want the child to forgive us for.
And I want to love you. In what ways can I love you? You can ask that open-ended question. And what do you need from me?
You're,
Go ahead.
you're probably going to write this all down, right?
Well, I hadn't thought about it. But
Well,
oh yeah, you write it down. I'm not writing it. Yeah, you write it down. Dear little Danny, what I want you to forgive me for, what I thank you for, the ways I might have hurt you, and what do you need from me now? Okay. I'm leaving it open-ended so you can even ask other questions or statements, but you're going to find it very healing just in doing this. Sort of like journaling, Dan, but you're journaling with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
right.
See? And I think you'll find it a great benefit because it's from the inner child that our creativity emerges, our imagination, imaginarium, part of that part, imagination, the senses, Colleen, like incense, smells and bells, and all that come from the creative, that inner child. That part, and this is called it's called an ego state. You have a parent ego state, and in the parent ego state, you got either a critical parent or nurturing parent. And that's whatever your parents were like when you were little. And then there is the child ego state, which is the adaptive child and the natural or free child. The adaptive child is what you've adapted from your parents that you've never let go of, that has been a way that you unconsciously sabotage yourself now. How you hurt yourself. Okay? The free child is the autonomous child, the natural child, where you have a spontaneity to you. What you see is what you get. It's more like the true self rather than the false self. The false self would be the adaptive child, more so. Am I confusing you? Hope not.
A little bit.
What questions do you have, Linda?
Well, I don't know. I think when you send out your information about our next meeting, you'll
Okay.
probably describe what you want.
Yeah, well, I
I'm
will.
trusting in that.
I will, and I'll send a picture of your little inner child.
Okay.
Okay. And then whoever does the inner child work, what I'd like for you to do is to have an empty chair right beside you so that we can do some gestalt work, some inner child, empty chair work. Okay? Well, Linda, not Linda. Yeah, Linda, you can do it. I was going to ask Martha again, but Linda, go ahead and let's offer a prayer of thanks.
Well, Martha does a good job.
Okay,
I'll
Martha,
try.
you do such a good job. You're the group prayer here. Go ahead.
Oh. Hey, Martha.
There we go. Our eternal creator, our creator of all that is, our giver of life and of every attribute of life. We thank you for our creation, for our preservation, for the gifts that you've given each of us, and the gifts we can share with each other. We ask your blessings on this group as we each go our separate ways, to our separate work, our separate missions, that you give us strength and courage to follow your guidance and to bring a contagion of love to our entire world. We ask this in the name of Christ, which you have sent. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I just want to mention too that the intuitive part of us, from the child as well. And in a sense, contemplation and meditation is revisiting the inner child.
Oh.
So anyway, we'll get into all this. Okay, how's that sound? Bye, y'all.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Blessings.
Renata, for coming on.
Is that next Thursday again? Then what we're doing?
Next Sunday.
Next
Sunday.
Sunday. Next Sunday. Sorry.
We'll do
Yeah.
the inner child work next Sunday.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm really confused because I've been away and to a very full weekend, and it was really good. So I'm trying to get over it now.
I'm glad that you had such a wonderful time.
I tell you what, David, I was exhausted from so much therapy. It took me a day to cry and another. All I wanted space because I had.
Oh, we lost her.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. There's only 2 of you all right now. Bye.
Oh, there it is.